The opulent ballroom of the Harrington Mansion in Washington, D.C. buzzed with anticipation as Senator Richard Harrington raised his glass to announce the engagement of his daughter Kayla to Ethan Caldwell, the son of a key political ally that would solidify their family's influence for the next election cycle. Kayla stood beside Ethan in her shimmering silver gown, her smile forced, and her eyes distant, the weight of years of expectations crushing her shoulders. Then in a voice that cut through the applause like a knife, she stepped forward, grabbed the microphone, and said, "Dad, stop. I can't marry Ethan the person. I want to build a family with the woman I love more than anything is Marissa Chun." The room exploded. Glasses clinked to the floor in shock. Cameras from the press section flashed like lightning. Senator Harrington's face turned a deep shade of purple, his hand still raised in toast, now frozen midair. Ethan blinked twice, his polished smile cracking as he stared at Kayla, then at me where I stood near the back of the crowd in my simple black dress, heart hammering so hard I thought it would burst through my ribs. I had come tonight only because Kayla begged me to be here in the shadows to witness what she called the end of her old life, but I never imagined this. Not like this. Not in front of 200 of the most powerful people in American politics. Kayla locked eyes with me across the sea of horrified faces, and the world narrowed to just us. Her lips moved silently, "I love you," and suddenly she was pushing through the crowd, ignoring her father's roared command, "Kayla, get back here right now." Security hesitated, unsure whether to stop the senator's daughter or the scandal unfolding live on every major network feed. I met her halfway, my hands trembling as she grabbed them, pulling me close right there in the middle of the chaos. Whispers rippled like wildfire. "Lesbian, the Harrington girl is a lesbian. What about the family legacy?" A woman in pearls fainted into her husband's arms. Another guest, a congressman, muttered, "This will ruin the party platform." We didn't wait for more. Kayla yanked me toward the side exit, her grip iron tight. My heels clicked frantically on the marble as we burst into the cool night air of the mansion gardens. Behind us shouts echoed, Senator Harrington's voice booming, "Marissa Chun, who the hell is that girl?" Kayla's breath came in short bursts as we ran past manicured hedges toward the valet stand. "Get my car now," she ordered the stunned attendant, tossing him her keys. Minutes later we were speeding down the long driveway in her black Mercedes, the city lights of DC blurring past the windows. I clutched the door handle, still processing what had just happened. "Kayla, you just blew up your entire life," I whispered, my voice cracking with a mix of awe and terror. She glanced at me, her green eyes fierce, even through the tears streaking her mascara. "I couldn't do it anymore, Marissa. For years of hiding us, pretending to be the perfect political daughter, smiling for photos with men I felt nothing for. Tonight when Dad started talking about grandchildren and alliances, I saw our future slipping away forever. You are my future. The only one that feels real." I reached over, squeezing her hand, the warmth of her skin grounding me. "But your family, the campaign, the money, they control everything. What if they cut you off completely?" Kayla laughed bitterly, a sound that held no joy. "Then they cut me off. I'd rather be broke and free with you than rich and dead inside without you." We pulled into the underground garage of my modest apartment building in Adams Morgan, a far cry from the Harrington estate. The silence in the elevator was heavy with everything unsaid. Inside my small living room with its second-hand couch and bookshelves overflowing with architecture texts, we finally collapsed onto the cushions. Kayla kicked off her heels, burying her face in my shoulder. I held her, stroking her blonde hair as sobs shook her body. All those secret nights we stole over the last 4 years came rushing back. How we met at a quiet charity fundraiser for LGBTQ youth, where Kayla had snuck away from her father's event. She was 24 then, already carrying the weight of being the only child expected to continue the dynasty. I was a 23-year-old junior architect fresh out of grad school, volunteering because it felt right. One conversation about hidden identities turned into coffee the next day, then stolen weekends in my car parked by the Potomac River, where no one would recognize us. I never pushed her to come out. I knew the cost. Her mother, Eleanor, the perfect senator wife who had given up her own career for the family image. Her father, who had groomed her since birth for this life of power. Even her circle of friends from elite prep school, all tied to the same world. We built our love in fragments, late-night texts coded as work meetings, weekend getaways disguised as girls' trips. I learned to live with the ache of never holding her hand in public, never posting a photo, never saying "I love you" loud enough for the world to hear. But tonight she had screamed it. And the price was already starting to show in the way her phone lit up nonstop with missed calls from Dad, Mom, and half the DC power brokers. A sharp knock at my door jolted us both. Kayla froze. It's probably security or worse, the press. I peeked through the peephole, my stomach dropping. It was her mother, Eleanor Harrington, impeccably dressed, even at midnight, her face a mask of controlled fury. Open this door, Kayla, I know you're in there. We let her in because what choice did we have? Eleanor swept inside, her eyes scanning my tiny apartment with barely concealed disgust. This is where you've been throwing away everything we built. Kayla stood up, straightening her gown like armor. Mom, I meant every word. I love Marissa. She's the one I want to marry, have kids with, build a real life with. Eleanor laughed a cold sound. Love? You think this is love? This is rebellion. A phase. Your father is on the phone with damage control right now. The engagement announcement is already trending as a joke. Ethan is humiliated. If you don't fix this tonight, the family trust, the campaign funds, everything gets frozen. You'll be nothing. Kayla didn't flinch. Then it'll be nothing on my own terms. Eleanor turned to me, her gaze slicing like ice. You did this. You poisoned my daughter against her blood. I felt the words hit, but I kept my voice steady. Mrs. Harrington, I love your daughter. I never asked her to choose. She chose. Eleanor stepped closer, her perfume overwhelming. You have no idea what real pressure looks like. But you will. She left, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. Kayla sank back onto the couch, pulling me down with her. Her body trembled against mine. I don't regret it, Marissa. But God, it hurts already. I held her tighter, whispering promises we both knew might break under the coming storm. Outside my window, the first hints of dawn painted the sky, and with it the certainty that our hidden world had just been dragged into the light where everything would be tested. By morning, the world had changed. My phone buzzed with notifications before I even opened my eyes. Twitter, no X now, was exploding with hashtags Harrington lesbian scandal and political princess comes out. News vans lined the street outside my building, their satellite dishes pointed like accusations. Kayla and I sat at my tiny kitchen table, coffee untouched, scrolling through the chaos together. Clips of her declaration looped everywhere, one major network calling it the most explosive coming out in political history since the 90s. Comment sections were a war zone, half praising her bravery, the other half spewing vitriol about family values and how this would tank her father's re-election bid. Kayla stared at a particularly vicious thread, her face pale. They're calling me a traitor to the party, saying I was brainwashed by some activist. I took her hand. You're not a traitor. You're honest. But inside my own chest a knot of guilt tightened. Was I worth this? For years I had told myself our love was enough to weather anything, but seeing the toll on her now made me question everything. A knock sounded again, this time louder. Kayla sighed. It's them. Let them in. Her father stormed through the door, flanked by 2 aides, and her mother looking like she hadn't slept. Senator Harrington's voice boomed, filling my small space. Kayla and Harrington, what the hell were you thinking? Do you have any idea the damage you've done? Campaign donors are pulling out left and right. Ethan Caldwell called me at 6 this morning demanding an apology on air. Kayla stood tall, though I saw the tremor in her hands. Dad, I can't apologize for being who I am. Marissa isn't a phase. She's my partner. The senator laughed bitterly, pacing the room. Partner. In this town, that word ends careers. You were supposed to be the face of the next generation. Marry Ethan, produce heirs, keep the seat warm. Now look at you hiding in this apartment like some commoner. He turned his glare on me. Miss Chen, I did some digging last night. Architect with student loans, liberal parents who marched in pride parades. You think you fit in our world? You don't. You're a liability. I swallowed hard, keeping my voice even. Senator, I never wanted to destroy anything. I just wanted to love your daughter openly. Eleanor stepped forward, her eyes red-rimmed. Love doesn't pay for private schools or security details. Kayla, you have until noon to issue a statement saying it was a joke, a moment of stress. Otherwise we cut the trust fund, freeze all accounts. You'll learn what real struggle feels like. The room went deathly quiet. Kayla looked at me, then back at her parents, her jaw set. Do it. Freeze it all. I'm done pretending. The senator shook his head, disgusted. You'll regret this when you're begging on the streets. They left as abruptly as they came, the door slamming like a gunshot. Kayla collapsed into my arms, sobbing quietly. I held her, rocking her gently, my mind racing with the practicalities. My salary as a junior architect at a small firm wouldn't cover both of us long term. Her designer clothes, her expensive tastes, everything she knew was vanishing. Later that afternoon we ventured out for groceries, disguising ourselves with hoodies and sunglasses. But someone recognized us. A group of protesters had gathered outside, one holding a sign, "Harrington hypocrite," another shouting, "Go back to the closet." We ducked into a side alley, hearts pounding. Back home the media storm intensified. My boss called, firing me effective immediately, citing the firm's conservative clients who threatened to pull contracts. I told Kayla, trying to sound brave, "It's okay, I'll find something else." But she saw through me, her own guilt mirroring mine. "This is my fault, Marissa. I dragged you into the spotlight." I kissed her forehead. We dragged each other. "Remember the night we first said I love you on that rooftop in Georgetown? You said one day we'll walk in the sun together. This is that day, even if the sun burns." We spent the evening talking deep into the night, unpacking years of her internal war. How she had dated boys in college to please her father, all the while texting me under the table. How she cried alone after every family dinner where marriage to Ethan was discussed like a business merger. I shared my own fears, my conservative Vietnamese American parents who still didn't know about us, how my mother sent me Bible verses after the news broke, calling it a test from God. By midnight another betrayal hit. Kayla's childhood best friend Sophia posted a long thread on social media claiming she always suspected Kayla was confused and that I had manipulated her with activist rhetoric. The post went viral with thousands of shares. Kayla read it, tears streaming. Sophia knew everything. We trusted her. I held her as she processed the knife in her back. People we loved were choosing sides, and the sides hurt. That night we lay in my bed staring at the ceiling, the weight of the world pressing down. Kayla whispered, "I don't know if I can keep going like this without breaking them or myself." I whispered back, "Then we find a way together, or we don't." But leaving isn't an option anymore. Sleep came in fits and starts, the distant sound of news helicopters circling like vultures reminding us the fight had only just begun. The next 3 days blurred into a nightmare of hiding and hard truths. We holed up in my apartment, ordering food delivery and avoiding windows as the story dominated every headline from CNN to Fox. Pundits debated whether Kayla's coming out was a calculated political move or genuine love. Conservative commentators called her selfish for destroying her father's career trajectory, while progressive ones hailed her as a hero. Inside our four walls the real battle raged, not with the public but within ourselves. Kayla paced the living room, phone in hand, reading the latest text from her brother, who had sided with Dad, calling her a disgrace to the family name. I watched from the couch, my own phone silenced after my parents left voicemails demanding I come home and repent. One afternoon Kayla broke down completely. She sat on the floor, knees to chest, rocking. "What if they're right, Marissa? What if I am selfish? I grew up with everything because of them. The best schools, the connections. Now I'm throwing it away for us and dragging you down too. You lost your job because of me." I knelt beside her, taking her face in my hands. "Look at me. You didn't drag me. I chose you every secret moment. Remember when we drove to that cabin in the Shenandoah last summer? No one around for miles, just us talking about kids one day. A little girl with your eyes. That dream is worth fighting for." She nodded, but the doubt lingered in her eyes, a shadow that grew with every news alert. Social backlash hit harder than we expected. My social media was flooded with hate messages, some threatening violence against us both. Kayla received death threats from anonymous accounts tied to far-right groups, saying she was destroying traditional America. We stopped going out altogether, living on canned soup and each other's company. One night we sat on the fire escape under a blanket of stars, the city humming below. Kayla opened up deeper than ever. "I always knew I was different, even at 15 when I had my first crush on a girl at summer camp. I buried it so deep I almost believed the lie. Meeting you cracked everything open. You made me feel seen, not as Senator Harrison's daughter, but as Kayla." I squeezed her hand. "And you made me believe love could be bigger than fear." But the conversation turned tense when I admitted my own cracks. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm holding you back. Your family has power. With me you're just another couple scraping by. Maybe I should step away, let you fix things." She grabbed my shoulders fiercely. "Don't you dare. That's what they want. To make us doubt us. The betrayal deepened when an old college friend of Kayla's leaked private photos from our secret trips, photos we thought were safe. They hit the tabloids the next morning, blurry, but clear enough to show us kissing on a beach in Maryland. The caption read, "Harrington heiress lesbian affair exposed." Kayla stared at the screen, numb. That was our private moment. Now it's public property. I felt violated too, but anger fueled me. We fight back. Not with statements but with truth. We started drafting a joint post for her social media, but before we could post, her mother called. Eleanor sounded broken, not angry. "Kayla, please. Your father had a mild heart scare last night. The stress. Come home, talk to us." Kayla hung up, shaking. "Is this my fault too?" I hugged her tight. No. But the guilt was eating her alive. We spent hours in deep conversation, weighing every choice, the moral weight of family loyalty versus personal truth. Was love worth breaking hearts that raised her? Was silence a kinder lie? By dawn we decided to stay hidden a little longer, but the walls felt like they were closing in. Outside, the pressure mounted. Kayla's former law firm where she had interned quietly withdrew a job offer citing the scandal. My own freelance gigs dried up as clients Googled my name and backed out. We were running out of savings fast. One evening a brick crashed through my window with a note, "Go back to hiding, freaks." We called the police, but they treated it like a minor incident. That night Kayla cried in my arms, whispering, "I never knew how much hate there was until I chose you." I whispered back, "And I never knew how strong love could be until you chose me." The tension built like a storm. We both felt at the point where something had to break. The betrayal that shattered us came from the least expected place, my own cousin Liam, who I had confided in months ago thinking blood meant safety. He sold a detailed interview to a tabloid claiming I had seduced Kayla for money and status, describing our relationship as a predatory scheme. The article went live on a Friday afternoon, complete with fabricated quotes and old family photos twisted to fit the narrative. I read it on my laptop, hands shaking as Kayla read over my shoulder. "Marissa, this says you planned it all from the beginning." Her voice was hollow. I slammed the laptop shut, tears burning. He was family. I trusted him with our story. Now the world thinks I'm a gold digger. Kayla pulled me close, but I could feel her own doubt flickering. We argued for the first time, not loudly but painfully. She said maybe we should pause and think. The damage is everywhere. I snapped back, pause means they win. You're already questioning us because of lies. The confrontation escalated that evening when Kayla received a private message from her father offering a deal. Come back, issue a retraction, say it was a publicity stunt, and the trust fund unlocks, plus a promotion in the campaign office. Kayla showed me the text, her face torn. If I say no, they'll keep coming for you too. I felt the moral knife twist. Was I being selfish by encouraging her to stay strong? We talked for hours, dissecting right and wrong. She confessed her deepest fear: I wake up every day wondering if I ruined my mother's life. She gave up everything for Dad's career. Now I'm doing the same to her. I shared my guilt too. My parents stopped talking to me completely. Mom says I'm dead to her until I repent. Are we destroying everyone around us for our happiness? A major showdown happened 2 days later, when we agreed to meet Eleanor at a neutral cafe in Georgetown. She arrived alone, looking 10 years older. "Kayla, honey, the family is fracturing. Your brother won't speak to me because he blames me for not seeing the signs. The campaign lost 3 major donors yesterday. Please think of the bigger picture. Politics isn't just power, it's service. Your father has done so much good." Kayla reached across the table. "Mom, I love you. But I can't live a lie anymore. Marissa isn't the enemy. She's the reason I'm finally alive." Eleanor turned to me, her voice breaking. "Then take her and go far away. But don't expect forgiveness. The family legacy you two are trampling took generations to build." We left the cafe in silence, the weight of her words hanging like fog. Back home the arguments continued late into the night. Kayla accused me of not understanding the sacrifice she was making. I accused her of still wanting the easy life. We cried, made up, held each other. But the cracks were there, the price of truth showing in every tense silence. The next betrayal came from within. Kayla discovered her assistant had been feeding information to the senator for months, including locations of our secret dates. When confronted over the phone, the assistant admitted it was for job security. Kayla hung up, devastated. "Everyone I trusted sold us out." That night we made a pact: no more hiding but no more illusions either. We would face the consequences head on. Yet as we lay awake the moral dilemma loomed large. Was our love noble if it left destruction in its wake? The tension peaked when a protest outside my building turned violent. Rocks thrown, police called. We watched from the window, realizing our choices had ripple effects far beyond us. Kayla whispered, "I don't know if I can keep paying this price." I held her, knowing I felt the same, but refusing to let go. The climax built like a tidal wave, crashing over us in the 5th week. Senator Harrington called a press conference without Kayla announcing he was distancing the family from her choices and naming a nephew as the new face of the next campaign. The snub was public and brutal. Kayla watched it live on my laptop, her face ashen. He erased me like I never existed. The inner conflict tore at her. She spent hours journaling pages of guilt about betraying the sacrifices her parents made immigrating, building the empire from nothing. I read one entry over her shoulder, feeling my own heartbreak. She wrote, "I chose love, but at what cost to the people who loved me first?" We faced the ultimate moral test when Eleanor showed up at my door with legal papers. "Sign these and the family will pay off your student loans, Marissa. Walk away from Kayla and let her return to the path." Kayla grabbed the papers, ripping them in half. "Mom, how can you ask that?" Eleanor replied coldly, "Because love isn't enough when it destroys lives." The argument exploded in my living room, accusations flying. Kayla screamed about years of emotional neglect, being paraded as the perfect daughter. I stood silent until Eleanor turned on me, calling me the homewrecker. Something in me snapped. "Mrs. Harrington, your daughter chose me because with you she was dying inside." The room went quiet, Eleanor leaving with a final warning: "You'll both regret this when the world moves on, and you're left with nothing." That night Kayla and I had our rawest conversation yet. She confessed the awakening: "I realized I've been living for their approval my whole life. Even our love I hid because part of me still wanted their pride. But now I see the cost was my soul." I admitted my fear: "Am I the selfish one for wanting you all to myself?" We held each other through tears, deciding to make one last stand. Kayla scheduled a public interview with a major network. During the live broadcast she looked straight into the camera. "I love Marissa Chun. Choosing her cost me my family, my security, but it gave me back myself. No more lies." The backlash was immediate, but so was the support. Messages poured in from strangers sharing their own stories. Yet the sacrifice peaked when Kayla learned her mother had been hospitalized from stress. She rushed to the hospital, but was denied entry by security on her father's orders. Standing outside the room she broke completely. "This is the price, Marissa. My choice did this." I held her in the hallway, whispering, "We can still turn back." She shook her head, "No. Turning back would kill me slower." The moral dilemma hung heavy. Was authenticity worth the human cost? We left the hospital, changed, the weight of every decision pressing down. Back home we packed a few bags, deciding to leave DC for a while to rebuild. The confrontation had forced us both to face the truth: our love was real, but the scars would last forever. Months later we sat on the porch of a small rental house in the mountains of Virginia, the DC chaos a distant memory, but never gone. Kayla had started a nonprofit helping young LGBTQ people from political families find their voices, her trust fund gone, but her passion alive. I had found freelance work designing community centers, work that felt meaningful if not lucrative. Our days were simple: coffee together, long walks hand in hand, no more hiding. But the costs remained visible in the unanswered calls from her family, in the way my parents still sent holiday cards addressed only to me. One quiet evening Kayla turned to me, her hand in mine. "I don't regret choosing you, Marissa. But I wake up some nights wondering if bravery was just another word for destruction. We lost so much. Friends, family, stability. Was it worth it?" I looked at the stars, remembering every confrontation, every tear, every awakening moment. The journey had forced us both to grow, to confront our deepest fears about loyalty, duty, and self. We had paid the price in full and emerged stronger, but the question lingered for the world to judge. In choosing love over duty in the face of total family and social ruin, was Kayla truly brave? Or did her public declaration selfishly shatter too many lives that never asked to be part of her awakening?